Lornet, who are they?
Well, Lornet, quick history, founded in 1994, specifically in the IT engineering fields. All our people have to have the certifications and credentials to work here.
Okay.
Lornet is not an ISP, which is frequently misconstrued around here. But,
Yeah. Internet service
Internet
provider.
service provider.
Okay.
No, we do all the engineering side of things, from the systems, network, security, managed backups, managed services. I mean, the whole 9 yards, including sales of
So
equipment.
that kind of gives me an understanding. So what's your background and experience? I looked on your website. In fact, a lot of people may be seeing this video on your website now. I'm just kind of saying, I wonder who John is and what's his background and how can he help me out. So do I remember geology and Colorado School of Mines?
Colorado School of Mines graduate, degrees in geophysics. And it's really kind of funny because one of the things we kind of got forced into the pipe when we were doing geophysics back then was we were working on mainframes, which then went to mini computers and obviously to PCs at some point in time. But that seemed to be a niche within the geophysics industry that I picked up, and as I moved through the exploration industry, ended up being the IT director for an oil company for quite a while. You look at my computer background, it actually started around 1973, which is when I really got into it in college.
Before PCs.
Yeah,
it
really
was pre-PC.
Pre-PCs, yes. Yeah, so we were working with DEC PDP-11s and the old KA-10 systems.
Yeah.
And, from there, I went into controlled data, super mainframes and crays, and tried to get them to a point where our desktops that we had for engineers, a lot of times, were stupid terminals, right? And then we moved into X-terms, and we started throwing in PCs, and it was how you network them all together and make them work with the mainframes and being able to do things without having to have card decks.
I see. Now, let me ask you, were there viruses back then, or when did viruses enter into computing?
You know, viruses have a long history, and they existed even back in the Unix days. In fact, there's probably some good material still in books somewhere about how you write viruses for Unix.
Wow.
But they've been around quite a while, and it's mainly, and I guess the funny part, if you want to look at it, is we had a hacking community back then, but hacking wasn't hacking as we think of it today. It's hacking code, means you're a coder and trying to get programs written.
Okay.
The bad guys were called crackers because they were cracking into systems and doing that. Then we had the viruses, which were pretty experimental back then. It really wasn't until we had the internet we had today. And by the way, my first mail system was based on something called UUCP, which was Unix to Unix copy. So on our mainframe and some of the PCs we had set up, and we had a Unix system, it would dial a computer at DU, Denver University, and upload the mail to them, and then they would upload it to it, and it would start routing itself around the country, because we didn't really have the internet back then. So interesting how this all developed, and viruses really got into play when all of a sudden internet became a consumer item. I still think it was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. So your customers today, how big of a factor is, I'm just curious, like the security issues that face a company and hacking and getting their router pounded on by.
Yeah.
How much of that do you spend your time on?
I spend a lot of time doing cleanup of it because it's a very low priority for a majority of our customers. They don't want to put the money into a commercial firewall. They don't want to put in a managed antivirus system and security. They don't want to have an intrusion detection system because they're all expensive things.
Yeah.
They're not cheap. But the downside of that is then I or one of my staff have to go into a system and spend hours and hours cleaning it up.
It ends up costing more than it would have
Yeah,
been.
exactly.
Yeah.
A little proactive medicine happens.
Okay, so managed services, what is it, and how do you deploy it here in Uray County? And I guess you have more customers than just here in Uray County.
Yeah, in fact, we have customers from Florida to California that are in our managed services.
Okay.
Managed services is not break fix. All right. We were just talking about how when a system gets hacked up, it's broken.
Yeah.
Now we have to spend all the time and customers' money to fix it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to drive somewhere to fix a broken system.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Managed services is the opposite. If you think about it in medical terms, it is what the doctors really want us to get to, which is preventive medicine. Managed services is very similar, taken a step further. Think about, again, the medical analogy. So you have had a heart attack, all right? So you've been down in the hospital, so you were broken. Now they send you home with a set of equipment on you that is sending out radio telemetry on what your heart is doing for a while until the doctor is happy with you or the labs. Not much different than what we do with managed services. So managed services is we drop in some instrumentation into a computer, and it sits and tells us, oh yeah, my CPU is running at 50%, and yes, memory, we're only using like 30% of it. Oh, the swap file's in 50% usage, and the disk drive is this full, and oh yeah, wait a minute, a couple minutes ago we just saw a disk check alert on this particular drive on this system. All this stuff is coming in, data from systems from all of our clients into a panel, and which you see up here on the screen, which is telling us what's going on. This system automatically is checking Microsoft for the patches and sees that there's patches, critical patches, which have not been applied to a system and tells us.
I see. Yeah.
Most of the time, within a 24-hour window when we see that, this system will self-correct that computer and apply that patch.
Now I see a whole list up there. Are those customers, machines?
Yeah, those are machines. Can be things. Some of them are Windows probes, which are the next size up of instrumentation, where it's actually that device is looking for new computers being added to the network. Also monitoring network equipment like smart switches, routers, telephone switches, all that kind of stuff, and printers, and reporting back to us. Printers can be something like, oh, the black ink cartridge is getting low, or tray 2 is getting close to being out of paper. So we get all that information. There are things we have built into the system which can auto-correct. If something ends up on this list that has not been acted on, then this bottom screen is showing us not only when customers have emailed into the system that they have some sort of request. In fact, we might be able to go through one of these. One of my Denver customers is having trouble with that Microsoft patch that came out last night. It shut down their on-screen phone system as well as their accounting software.
So with this installed, what you're saying, if I understand you right, is you can be here in beautiful Ouray, Colorado, and providing service to somebody in Miami, Florida, or downtown New York City, or wherever. If you have basically the equipment, the software installed.
Basically all you need is a computer with the instrumentation we drop on it, and it's connected to the internet.
Okay.
And at that point, it gives us all kinds of information. We can even take it to having what we call managed antivirus on it.
Yeah.
So we can deploy the antivirus. It does this thing on the schedules. It reports back to our system, and we can look at it. And in fact, this particular screen is showing us all the most recent activity within our managed antivirus.